This is part 3 of my conversation with Jack Salzman. For parts 1 and 2, please click the link in the description. According to Daniel Bryan's autobiography, yes, he said that if it weren't for the immense crowd supports around 2014, hanging up to WrestleMania 30, and CM Punk's departure after the Royal Rumble, he wouldn't have gotten his big WrestleMania moment, winning the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. He was actually originally slated to face Sheamus, and obviously it wouldn't be the main event, somewhere mid-card, if not curtain jerking. That brings about something else. Do you believe that CM Punk was, as held back in WWE as he claimed on that episode of Art of Wrestling?
I don't know, because CM Punk, who arguably will go down as one of the greatest ones on the mic, just because it's very eloquent, articulate speaking wrestler. I don't know if he was held back that much. I think he had a pretty good run. I think, especially whenever they performed here, fans went absolutely nuts for it.
Yeah.
And I thought, I think he had a good, I don't think he was underutilized. I could see him taking issue if, when he did that silly straight edge society gimmick, if it was one of those things where it's like, I never wanted to do this. This was not my idea. Stupid idea. It makes me look like a moron. Yeah. I could see him taking issue with something like that because it, where it's just like, that's not who he is. And I can see that being the case.
He actually liked the Straight Edge Society. He thought it was the coolest thing ever with Luke Gallows and Serena Deeb. And was really, kind of surprised that they weren't doing more with that. That, it was kind of had some momentum, but then it just got dropped and just faded off. And, then the Nexus came around and that really killed any interest in Straight Edge Society afterward.
Exactly.
I also don't believe that he was as held back because of everything that he has, done. A lot of stuff that you probably couldn't see much any other people pulling off. His big title reign of 434 days, a record in modern history for a long time until it was beaten by Brock Lesnar a couple years ago. Also his big pipe bomb in 2011, shortly before that Money in the Bank in Rosemont, Chicago. Also mixing it up in the ring on the mic with some of the big authority figures, Vince McMahon, John Laurinaitis, Triple H, being able to do all that makes me think, he wasn't as held back as he claimed, but I could see some of his, frustrations about him saying that it was a, creatively WWE being stifling because he had a lot of ideas that were shot down by Vince McMahon. One idea was shortly after the pipe bomb promo, having a new CM Punk, a new look, saying I'm going to go from my Chicago Star tights to fight shorts with sponsors on them. But Vince McMahon said, no, our sponsors are going to get mad. But then Brock Lesnar comes back and he's wearing his fight shorts from UFC with the sponsors on him, really because he still has some deals with those sponsors. But still, I can see Punk's frustration. I said I wouldn't do that, but you didn't let me.
Yeah, there's definitely this very seemingly obvious double standard, and don't get me wrong, I'm happy to see Lesnar back, but it always kind of was a buzzkill, especially that controversial Money in the Bank win where he won that and then paraded around with the stereo shaped briefcase and all that whole thing. I thought that was kind of that was kind of aggravating for me because I feel Money in the Bank to me has a tendency to kind of underwhelm me because it's always comes down to the wire, and then it kind of has that Royal Rumble effect where someone out of nowhere can easily just screw it up and make it that much worse.
Yeah, sure, for sure. Also in that episode of our wrestling, CM Punk was bringing up one of his, hang-ups about WWE was never main eventing a WrestleMania. by that, he doesn't mean, WrestleMania could have advertised multiple main event matches, but he considers main event to be the last match, closing out the show. Why do you think he never got his wish of main eventing WrestleMania?
I don't know. I think WWE ran a little bit scared because he was the only one that seemed to have this attempt of like trying to like, spread his influence independent with what anyone told him. It was kind of like, and to me, it was a very immature kind of like, I'm going to do this, and I don't care if you don't. I feel like people liked his kind of, stick it to the man attitude, but I feel like it could have easily just been lumped as like, okay, you kind of also just sound like a huge brat. Like,
yeah.
So I don't know. It's hard to tell with him. Like, he's definitely kind of all over the place.
Yeah. Do you see either CM Punk or Daniel Bryan, or even both of them, returning to WWE at some point? And also, do you think some management like Vince McMahon would want them to come back?
If anything, I think Daniel Bryan would be a little bit safer of an option. I feel like CM Punk has kind of burned a few bridges already. And I think in true cliche, if Bryan were to come back, I think he would do it as a full baby face, and Punk would do it more as like a true heel.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know if they would really kind of gel with it, because I think WWE is becoming a little bit more youthful. Like, it's getting younger with the talent and stuff. And I think it would be harder for them to really find their groove.
Yeah, trying to get
unless someone like tries to upend their legacy by getting all like, and it's like, oh, you guys were all full of crap, like, I'm the next best thing, and something like of that sort, someone trying to like really show up the other one's past in some way or another.
Yeah, I definitely think that Daniel Bryan could find his way back to WWE in a few years' time, depending. But CM Punk, probably not, unless he and Vince McMahon can go through just like can really try to bury a royal hatchet of some sort. But I don't know if that's really gonna happen. But a man can dream about one or both of them coming back.
Exactly.
At some point. But who do you think will make the jump to AEW next from any promotion?
I think Bray Wyatt is among the next of sorts.
Yeah.
I've been having a tougher time because I know there's a lot of up and coming female wrestlers, but I don't know if anyone really kind of fell out with WWE to the point of, wanting to like, jump ship. I feel like, some of these other guys have been more specifically wronged by whatever Vince did, and like, they have a reason to kind of get under his skin a little bit.
Yeah. For me, I'm thinking, to make the jump, Kevin Owens or Kevin Steen for some other promotions could definitely go to AEW. I know that his contract is gonna be up in I don't know how long. So I think he would definitely, make the jump to AEW next. I mean, he hasn't really been, doing a whole.
Definitely been underutilized recently. As of more recent. The one other person I was hearing that's interesting, I think it'd be good because I feel like there's not enough in this vein, as I was hearing, because I was hearing about like the one of the lucha wrestlers, Gran Metalik, I think, once out. But what I'd be curious to know is, because I feel like I never, the luchador wrestlers are very unique to themselves. But what I don't know is if he were to go somewhere else, would he keep the same sort of gimmick, or would he, kind of do the whole ditch the mask and wrestle as who he is?
Yeah.
Kind of make his groove that way. I feel like the mask and like the kind of gimmick with that is what kind of makes them who they are, though.
Yeah. Someone else maybe that could go to AEW. Kevin Owens's frenemy, I guess you could say, Sami Zayn. He also has been doing much since the whole conspiracy theory storyline. I could see both of them in AEW. Kevin Owens actually had a stable with, I think, the Young Bucks, if I remember right,
Right.
many years ago, Mount Rushmore. And there was a post that Kevin Owens put on Twitter, but then quickly took down, of the coordinates for Mount Rushmore. So that's definitely a message to fans that, this could be, something on the horizon. I also still find it funny that Kevin Owens, a Canadian, is using was in a stable called Mount Rushmore, which is American as apple pie.
Right. Yeah, that is a very interesting point.
Yeah.
How do you feel about? Do you think Edge is? Do you think it's interesting that Edge just has decided to give it another whirl, despite like kind of being in a very interesting time of his career?
Yeah, I really do find it interesting, and I'm actually kind of surprised that he, is giving it another go because of how he was originally forced to retire. I thought that'd be, the last time we'd ever see him in the ring, but then coming back, I'm, very surprised that he's still giving it another shot. So I'm very happy to see him back.
Yeah, and I'm surprised, considering with John Cena being very limited in his appearances now, there's not Orton being really the only kind of remaining people from, I guess, that kind of ruthless aggression era and
Yeah.
whatnot. It's interesting to see how well they can navigate despite that kind of like culture divide where it's like this new school of wrestlers just clashing with the old school.
Yeah, it's a very yeah, I have a pretty cool match with some of the something like that.
I think
Uh
what's interesting is as I've been following the storyline, whether they try and make it seem that way or not, I feel like they're kind of trying to show like part of the gimmick or the storyline is obviously trying to show Rollins is trying to show like I'm better than you, Edge,
yeah.
But there's definitely I see some nuances of Rollins trying to be like another Edge, like especially when they did the whole house angle where like he was in
Yeah.
Edge's house, which I
Yeah.
frankly would put money on that wasn't actually his house, but
No.
suspension of disbelief because it's WWE. But
Yeah.
so I think that's interesting because that kind of reminds me of back when him and Cena had that huge feud
Oh yeah.
where Edge breaks into Cena's house and actually roughs up Cena's dad and stuff. So I think that's probably one of the more interesting stories right now because of this kind of getting in his head a lot.
Not the first time that John Cena's dad's been, roughed up in on TV. I don't know if you remember uh his match with the Cena Orton match one time at Saturday Night's Main Event where Orton pulls his dad over the barricade and then punts him in the head that one
Yep.
time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
One more question. Outside of their AEW debuts, obviously, what are your favorite moments in the careers of CM Punk and Daniel Bryan?
That is a good question. I Punk I did like when he gave the pipe bomb speech. I think it was cool that he really put everyone on notice. Like, here's what's wrong, and you know what? I am not afraid to say it. Like, I
Yeah.
am gonna say it, and if I get punished for it, so frickin' be it. And I think that was a very good move for him. I mean, no one really had that audacity to do that, and I like just kind of his unashamed, confidence going into that. I'm trying to think for Daniel Bryan. Probably when he came back. What did he came back at a Royal Rumble? If I think I'm not sure if I can think of a specific moment with him because to me he kind of had like a very what I thought was a more poorly executed version of Edge's retirement storyline where it's like you
Yeah.
really thought he was going to hang it up early on, and especially when you look at his career, when he came up through NXT and just like, thinking this guy isn't going to amount to anything and just really kind of showed people otherwise. But I think it was kind of cool just how he was able to, just his growth from beginning to end, or to where he's at now, I guess you could say.
Yeah. A couple of my favorite moments from their careers outside of their AEW debut for Punk. Also agree with the pipe bomb, but I also like that match against John Cena that culminated in that whole storyline at Money in the Bank 2011 at the Allstate Arena. Just the whole conflict, not just in the ring, but then with Vince trying to, with when Cena had the STF locked in on Punk, and Vince McMahon running down and trying to almost recreate what happened in Montreal all those years ago between Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels, trying to call for the bell when Punk hasn't tapped yet, and Cena's like, no, we're not going to do it this way. And then Punk eventually, getting the win and everything that happened then. I thought it was going to be, this, huge controversy. I mean, it was a pretty huge controversy, and I thought it was going to lead to much more, and what was going to happen, like what could happen, where could Punk end up with WWE's championship. But then it just, in a couple of weeks, Punk came back and immediately went into who was the real WWE champion sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of, I was hoping for a little more out of it, but we did get the funny image on Punk's Twitter of him putting the WWE title belt, the old John Cena spinner belt, in his refrigerator, which was the most random thing, but just really funny.
Just for a little bit of humor.
Yeah. For Daniel Bryan, trying to think for a minute myself, other than his big win at WrestleMania 30, the Miracle on Bourbon Street, as Michael Cole called it, I'd have to go with Team Hell No with Kane. Mm-hmm. That would I know my thought originally was that this stable, well, that tag team, that whole feud was kind of meant to humiliate him, but it actually turned out to be a real good team. The fans loved it, had like good character development, good friendship going on between forming on screen between Daniel Bryan and Kane. But that was still actually quite humorous to see Kane, of all people, really getting into something like that.
Yeah, and for me, like, I always thought Kane was a good wrestler, but I was always baffled by why WWE kind of kept flip-flopping between Kane in normal attire, Kane in an old school attire. Like,
yeah,
not really, was never made sense to me, like, why they wanted to keep it flip-flopped like that. Now with his every once in a while appearing as just truly himself.
Yeah.
But like why they would fall back on that, because I feel like because I remember, even though this was long before I started watching, I remember, was it 2003, I think, versus Triple H, when Kane finally like ditched the whole mask and wig gimmick or whatever and finally showed people who he really was and stuff. So I don't get what the backpedaling really accomplished. It's not like it's like a piece of nostalgia that like fans have been hung up about.
Yeah. Like one more thing, corporate Kane, my God, his attire, like coming out and wrestling in business slacks, so weird.
Right.
Yeah, with the authority. Anyway, Jack, I want to thank you so much for joining me on Corner Talk. You can find Jack wherever you find Blocked Off Street, Chicago. He is on the set of Chicago Fire, of course, a part of One Chicago, Wednesday nights on NBC. They're in the middle of filming its 10th season, right?
Yep, 10 years of that show.
And I've heard a lot of fantastic stuff. So again, I'm low-key jealous for you, but I'm so happy for what has been going on so far. Any big twist that you want to share with us? I'm kidding, of course. I don't want you getting in trouble with NBC or anything like that, but please do.
It's a big season. I'm gonna be that very broad vague and be like, this is there's a reason that the fact that this show's, going on the 10th season, this is a very unique season for those who've probably seen the first 3 episodes that have already aired. Yep. Things are headed in a very unique direction that's leaving fans just really curious and just like, literally hanging on the edge of their seat, ready for the next one. And it's just like keeps getting more and more momentous. And it just honestly definitely different than seasons past. And I think it's a very strong potential success.
Absolutely. We are looking forward to more to come out of Chicago Fire. Be sure to share My Corner of the World and Corner Talk on social media. Let me know your feedback on SoundCloud, YouTube, and other platforms. And be sure to watch out for more episodes to come. Jack, thank you so much for coming on.
Of course, man. It was great to catch up, and especially, just catch up over, an old pastime. And I don't even remember if we chopped it up about this when we were in high school, but, it's definitely something, like, as I said in the beginning, going on 8 years later that, what better way to catch up over lost time than talking about something as, just fun and careless as wrestling.